Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and I'm really excited that just now TDS have released the GTN XI Pro upgrade. The Pro upgrade makes the impossible possible. For more than 20 years, general aviation navigation in-flight simulation has been limited by the fact that we could not update the database of the trainer-based add-ons like the GTN 750 from TDS. Now, I've always loved those trainer-based add-ons because they simply simulate the real-world units pretty much exactly, since they are running on the trainers of the real-world units. So to say, you can say that these units actually include the real-world unit in your flight simulator, or at least the software running on it. Now, for 20 years, those units have been limited by the fact that due to the software being the real unit, you also needed the real-world database. And unless you wanted to pay several €100 per month to purchase the active real-world databases, you couldn't update your nav databases on those add-ons. But that is no more. With the Pro upgrade for the TDS GTN XI, Navigraph support for both the Aviation database as well as for charts has been introduced. Now let's go flying, featuring the FlySimware Learjet from Molde to Scandinavian mountains using this brand new technology. And here we are in our lovely Learjet. Now this is pretty much the wrong side of it. Let's go into the side that actually matters today. And we're going to have a look at how this new unit works. So, database. Fully updatable by Navigraph using your standard Navigraph subscription. So let's bring on the batteries, let's bring on the inverters, and let's bring on the avionics master and have a very first look at the brand new GTN XI. So you can see this is the standard database, and here it is. Navigraph database 2401, current at the moment of this recording. And Navigraph chart database, likewise 2401, current at the moment of this recording, both in our GTN trainer. And this is the full trainer product that we used to have with the previous GTN XI. It works out of the box with any airplane that previously had it integrated. Like at the moment I'm recording this on the awesome FlySimware Learjet early access. The FlySimware developers don't even know it exists. So we can really say out of the box in any airplane. I've tried this on the Black Square aircraft, I've tried it on the FlySimware aircraft, and I've tried it on the HPG helicopters, and no integration problems whatsoever at all. Likewise, no change in the performance compared to the earlier versions, so everything pretty much stays as it is, but you now got updatable data. Now we are going to have a look at how that looks like in flight in a couple moments, once we have started this Learjet up on our flight from Molde to Scandinavian mountains. So let me just shut it off once more for a few moments, and then we'll go and have a look. Alright, so quick check over here, switches are pretty much all off, but nav light on. And then we can also turn the seatbelt on already. We quickly go ahead and load a little bit of fuel and payload, and then we go for our flight. So, follow me inside then. We are going to take John, Rick, Dorothy, and Jake, and we'll also have Cindy with a tablet on board and a couple of bags. Alright, fuel, half a load is pretty much going to do. We'll fill the wing tanks completely, and that provides us ample range for our flight today. Alright, perfect. So with that we're done with our tablet, so let's put that away again. Go ahead and close the doors, and hi there, nice to see you on board today, gentlemen and ladies. And then we can go ahead and close up and make our flight. Right, so that door is closed, the other door is coming closed as well. Only that one over here, I really don't get how to close that, so we'll do it through the iPad. Alright, very, very cool. So, we do have sufficient oxygen pressure, the instrument settings are looking good, and then we quickly go ahead and close the doors and can make our way. Right, so cabin door should be closed now. Let's quickly check. Nope. So now it's getting closed. I'm overly excited for that GTN. I'm forgetting how to fly my aircraft already. Okay, here we go. That's looking good. Awesome. So, let's see. Fuel is ample on board. And down here everything's looking good. Alright then. So, beacon light on. Engine 1 start. We've got N2. We do have N1. So we're just waiting for the oil pressure. And here it comes. %, fuel on. And off we go. So that's number 1, thereafter comes number 2. And then we'll have a look at our brand new navigation capabilities. Right, number 1 is about running, looking for about 50% on the turbine speed. And here we go. Right, generator on, engine 2 start. So, turbine speed's increasing, fan speed is increasing. Oil pressure is increasing, and we're looking at 20%. Here we are. Fuel on. And that definitely looks like a good engine start to me. Alright, awesome, here we are. So, right, generator can come on, then let's just get rid of that control column for a moment. We'll definitely need the windshield heat, we'll need the pitot heat, avionics master, radio, autopilot, emergency battery. Everything's looking good down here. Stall warning can come on. Cabin air comes on, we're going up flight level 310 today. Come on. Okay, here we go. We always set 1,000 higher, basically. And the recognition lights can come on as well. Alright, perfect. So, let's go ahead and have a look at the setup of our GTN now. So, we've got the Navigraph database current at the moment I'm recording this. Let's go ahead and continue with this. Alright then, and we are going to start with the flight plan. Now, first things first there. We could obviously just go ahead and program that flight plan manually. However, we can also simply import it from SimBrief now. Previously, when you created those catalog routes, you always had the problem that when you imported a route, it might come with locked waypoints and stuff like that when your nav database doesn't match the waypoints included in here or doesn't match the airways. That's a thing of the past now. With the Navigraph database, which is basically identical to the SimBrief database, you will have everything in here. Alright, so let's go ahead and activate that, replace the current route, yes please, and then let's go. So, Molde, load procedures, departure, and according to the flight plan we have the L21 Alpha. Alright, load that up please. And then let's go ahead and you can see the view charts button is grayed out over here, because there are several charts on one unit, or rather on several sits on one departure chart. Now, if we have a look into the chart menu over here, we can see it straight away. Takes a little moment, but here we go. Our Navigraph charts have found our way into the GTN. Isn't that beautiful? Alright, so let's go ahead and have a look for our departure chart now. You can see it's both Bamva and Nelzo departures on the same chart. However, it's still capable of finding the chart that you're looking for straight away. But you need to keep that in mind, that you do have several procedures on the same chart. Then the real-world database does limit you for automatically selecting the charts. However, let's go ahead and have a look at a different example now. Let's go for the procedures. We're going to enter first of all the arrival coming from What did I say again where we came from? We're coming from Inbes, and we've got the Inbes 1 Sierra arrival. Now let's load that up, and you can see down here the chart icon is open because there's an exclusive chart for that arrival, as you can see over here. And with that, we get the arrival loaded up straight away, as you can see. Alright then, so that's pretty cool. We're going to load that one in, and finally we are going to select an ILS approach. So, approaches, let's take the ILS 15, and we are coming in from 853. That is looking pretty much correct. Right, load that approach up. Yes, thank you. Now, when you have a chart that has an exclusive approach assigned to it, like an approach chart, then you can always just go and view charts. And over here you can see two charts matching. We've got both the standard and the Cat 2 or 3 chart. We'll take the standard today. And here we go. That is what we are looking for. Pretty cool. Now, a couple other things that are worth pointing out at this point already. If we go over to the airport charts already over here, or to the waypoint info on the airport, everything that's listed on here now comes directly out of the Navigraph database. That includes, amongst others, the runway information, such as what kind of lighting does the runway have available. It includes things like the frequency coming straight from the Navigraph data. And of course, it can still download the real-world weather data available over here. What's also rather cool is the nearest visual reporting points that you can find up here. And those are basically taken directly from the Navigraph database as well. Now, I'm not 100% sure about the airport that we're flying to, Scandinavian Mountains. I couldn't find any VFR charts for that. Remember, Navigraph is focused on the IFR part, but those are the closest points it has available in the database. So that's quite cool. If we take a look at a different airport, for example, let's just take Düsseldorf just for the sake of it. Then you can see over here, we got all the reporting points that I do know about, like November, Sierra, Mike, Echo, and so on, straight in the database, which is a pretty cool thing. Alright, so let's go ahead with our departure airport then. Let's go back to Molde. And on here, if we have a look at the latest data, it's really nice how it's decoding that, by the way, like the real-world units actually do. So when you print NATIS in the real world, you would get your stuff, you know, in that decoded format down here, instead of just getting the textual string. As you can see, weather isn't all that good, so we just got to keep in mind, in case we need a return after landing, we do have an ILS available. We actually have several ILSs available. If we just go into that, then we can already see what we've got available over here. Now, again, there are several approaches on the same charts. That's why the chart button is grayed out down there. But you can see already that the Navigraph database does add a lot, and most importantly, current information to this. Alright, so, you guys know that I do like to talk about, you know, things. For example, to talk about bugs in actual units. So, how about we have a look at one? So, you can see right now, we've got an inbound track towards Ockmoor defined over here. And if we zoom in like really a lot, we can see now that this inbound track doesn't actually start at the end of the runway, but starts at the beginning of the runway. That's just because that's how the track is aligned. And this is a bug of the real-world unit. If you had a different inbound course, for example 075, then the line would be somewhere up here. That's a really cool thing. That's a really, really cool thing. When they start mimicking bugs of the real units, then you know things are getting good. Alright, excellent. So, that much about our general look at the flight plan setup over here. Other things you can do, easy going of course. If you take more to go to the frequencies, then we do want to have, let's say for example up here, the info frequency, and we can put that into the COM1 active straight over here. ATIS frequency, you could put into the standby for example. Right, our transponder after all we still got to do manually. So Squawk 2000, and I'm just going to keep the frequencies as they are over here. Alright, and that is just one of the several enhancements we have available now with the Navigraph charts. Okay, so let's have a look at our general procedures here. Nilsu 1 Alpha, what does that look like? So initial climb clearance is altitude of 6,000 feet. Let's go ahead and pre-select that. 6,000 set. 2992 is our standard pressure, that is alright. And then for the SID itself, let's take it full. Also, you could invert the colors if you want to. That's basically night mode, as you can see over here. But let's just bring that back to daylight mode, since that's what we're flying in. So routing is straight out on 074 inbound to Okmur, thereafter left turn Ipalu and then on to Nilsu. And if we do compare that with our flight plan, then we've got Okmur, Ipalu, Nilsu, kilometer 6,000, all set, excellent. Alright, and that is the Navigraph charts that we now have available in our GTN. So I do suppose we are just going to take it like that. Runway 07 is our departure runway. We can line up via Charlie, do the backtrack, and then off we go. Alright, so steering lock can come on. Then we can put our landing lights on down here as well. Park and brake released. Let's give it a go. And try not to kill the gentleman over here. Yep, steering doesn't seem to work. Press it again. Okay, steering on. Here it is. And now it works. Awesome. Okay, we're going to do the backtrack straight from here. So entering the runway, strobe lights coming on. Clear on the left side, and we're clear on the right side. One of the things I really like about those trainer products is that you also see the issues of the real unit. If you look at the positioning of the airplane on the map down there while we've been in the turn and while we started the backtrack, you can see the thing is lagging behind, and that's just what these units do. That's again one of those points that I really prefer on the trainer based products over the custom made ones for Flight Simulator. Alright, so we got one warning left there, that's the take a trim. So let's go ahead and trim the plane a little bit while we're taxiing. Provided that it does eventually respond. Here we go. Okay, so backtracking. I just love how they built this airport completely down into the runway here. So cool. Alright, that's our lineup complete. So, last thing for us to set up here is the course. 074 is what we're looking for. And that's what we got. The same we can do on the course, 074. Then let's go ahead and select our departure chart. And here we go. Alright then, so weather radar is coming on. We'll put it on 20-mile range, that's looking good. Last system check down here, we have everything on. We're gonna turn on the engine nacelle heat as well now. And that is all looking good. Engine ignition can come on, landing lights are coming on. And the lights are on already. Alright then, flaps 8. Here we go. And with that, we are all set up. So we've got engine anti-ice, we've got nacelle heat, that is all expected. So thrust reverser armed. Let's go, takeoff. So set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, 80 knots. Checked. V1, rotate. I love how agile the Learjet is. Right, positive climb, gear up. Okay, left engine getting a bit warm there. Reducing power a tiny bit. Okay, so thrust reverser is going off, then we can engage nav mode, we can engage vertical speed as soon as I have reduced it. That's looking awesome, and autopilot on. So you can see we're turning slightly to the left in order to intercept the course towards intercept the course to the first waypoint, 074. Now that we've intercepted it, we are going straight out on the desired track. Alright, cool. Apply a little bit of a nose down moment here, so that we can start our acceleration a bit better. And then we're going to climb up to a cruising altitude of 31,000. Out of the bad weather conditions. By the way, isn't this just looking awesome? Isn't this just like really looking awesome? Alright, so we're out of the icing conditions, nacelle heat is going off. Then we are not in any we're not in any vicinity of VFR traffic today, so first of all maintain 250 knots, and then we can go ahead and turn those landing lights off. Alright, excellent. And we're in the air. So let's have a look at what our airplane is doing. Looks like we're a tiny bit to the left of the track, but if we check the map then we're straight on it. Okay. Alright, so let's set our climb power accurately, looking for 850 degrees turbine temperature. That's gonna give us a little boost there in the climb as well. Look at that, 6,000 feet a minute, beautiful. Alright, that is exactly what we're looking for. So, flight timer should run automatically, and it does. That is awesome. Right then. Passing 10,000, left engine is getting a little bit hot again. 850 is what we're looking for. That is better. So, passing 10,000 already. Recognition lights go off. Fasten belts can go off as well, and we'll turn the ignition off. And with that we are on the way. So let's go ahead and have a look into a couple more features of the GTN. Now, I did ask the developer, Tiberio, if he could give me a little background about what he thought his most memorable moments were during development, and if he could give us a little bit of a technical insight into the product, and he gladly did. So, first of all, we're going to start. An updatable database was the most requested feature of the entire GTN, and this is what we got now. Likewise, the Navigraph chart implementation, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a few moments. It took approximately 2 years to actually develop all this, and the reason why you haven't seen any previous announcement is because there was so much research and working hours required that he just couldn't make any reliable one. And by the time the product reached the final releasable state, it was already ready for release. Alright, throughout the development they received assistance from Navigraph, especially from Richard Stefan on Navdata and Markus Hamburger on the charts, and Tiberio from TDS would really like to thank both of them for their support, dedication and professionalism for bringing this product to life. Now, In terms of complexity of the Navigraph data fields being used by the TDS GTN, from what they know so far, the nav data for the TDS GTN XI seems to be the most complex navigation database created using a flight simulator add-on to this point. To elaborate on how complex the database of the TDS GTN XI actually is, to fly an LPV approach, there are 18 data fields that are being read from the Navigraph database, and that does not take into account the actual procedure legs, which come from a different table, but only the LPV part of the approach. By having all these data fields available to them, the TDS GTN XI will ensure precise and correctly calculated lateral and vertical flight path. So remember guys, when we are talking about this enhancement, we are not only talking about getting a Navigraph database into an add-on, we're talking about creating the ability for a Navigraph database to be used by the real-world unit. However, if you happen to be someone who is now thinking, well, that I've just found a cheap way to update my nav data on my real-world unit, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. This is only going to work with the trainer on PC. However, the only reason for that is that some protections have been built in to prevent this from being used in the real world. From a purely technical standpoint, if the GTN trainer can read the database, then theoretically, so could the real world one. But as I mentioned, this has been prevented from the software side for rather obvious reasons. Now, it does come with an unprecedented level of detail though. There are a handful of airports worldwide which have only one end of a runway in operation and the other one closed. Think for example Frankfurt. Frankfurt's runway 18 is only available as a takeoff runway into the 18 direction. Runway 36 is not available. Now let's have a look at how the GTN is going to depict that on the waypoint info page if we just take a look at the airport itself. So let's go Frankfurt am Main onto the preview and have a look at that. We do have runway 18 available down there, but no runway 36. Simulating procedures has been a technical challenge when the GTN has been developed straight on its own. From the complex calculation of RF legs, which can be properly flown with the TDS GTN XI, to the 23 different procedure legs types, each having particularities that had to be individually addressed, thus ensuring that the desired procedure is accurately depicted in the TDS GTN XI to the highest level of perfection. Now, what that means is rather hard to put into normal words, so the only real way we can show you that is by having a look at a couple of procedures. Now, personally, I really like a certain one. That's the Bavis 1 Delta out of Heraklion. So, obviously, we are looking for the airport code, not for the name. So, let's go Heraklion. Procedures. Can we... Yeah, Bavis 1 Delta, here it is. Have a look at that. And we've got 1,000 to go, and I tell you what, SimBrief wants us up at 41, let's give it 41. Alright, so have a look at the accuracy of that procedure. First of all, why is that procedure so complex? Well, that is rather easy to answer. There are a lot of different lag types followed by one another. So, we are going to start with climbing on the runway track to 600 feet. Then we make a right-hand turn, intercept, heading 020, or rather a right-hand turn onto heading 020 to intercept the course inbound to Heraklion. But now have a look at that. There is also a 5,000 foot restriction in there. So what you have to do is you first of all make that right-hand turn onto the 020 track to intercept, but then you go outbound 335 from Heraklion NDB until 5,000, and that is what you see down here, and that's that left-hand turn over here. And once you got that one at 5,000, you make a right-hand turn back to the NDB, or rather to the airport VOR. You overfly the VOR, this is an overfly waypoint, and then you intercept the 279 track to Bavis. So that is what you see coded over here. Might look easy, but believe me, coding a database like that isn't all that easy. And the fact that this procedure is perfectly shown on the preview over here, that really shows us what went into it. You can have a look at the chart as well if you prefer to see that one visually yourself. So have a look at that. That may be a little bit less cryptical. So straight ahead to 600 feet, right and turn. This one says 0 to 1. In the real world, there can be a difference of approximately 1 or 2 degrees between what you see in the database and what you see on the chart. That's completely normal and due to the magnetic variation tables. So difference of 1 degree is exactly what I would expect. Then we go outbound 336 over here. Remember the same 1 degree until 5000 on the Barbizon Delta. Then a right hand turn, inbound to the station, overfly the station, then onto 325, intercept to the 280 track. So it's all within 1 degree, so this clearly points to the difference being the magnetic variation database, which is completely realistic. That stuff absolutely happens. And then finally, you've got so many legs that are dependent on one another, and all of that is shown correctly. Okay, so let's have a look into another one then. Or rather, let's have a look into what is not available. As per the real world unit, the GTN 750 is not certified for approaches that need a special authorization. Let's have a look into an example. And for this one, we're going over to Madeira. So many of you know that in Madeira there are RMP AR approaches, authorization required. Now, the GTN 750 is not authorized for those approaches, and for that reason you will not find them in the database. They are being filtered out, but they need to be filtered out from the database point of view. This is done in the database, not in the GTN. So stuff like that has been implemented completely correctly. Okay, so then let's go ahead and have an actual look into what we are going to fly then. So we start with the ILS approach Romeo 15 over in Scandinavian mountains, which we're going to fly in a few moments. Well, you guys know that the GTN trainer is a high fidelity type of avionics, since obviously it uses exactly the real world avionics. But let's have a look into a couple of features. So for this particular flight, I selected a route which is valid according to the published standard procedures. But look at that, we're flying straight out to Inbes, then we join the star over there to fly that S-turn. Do we want to do that? Nah, we don't really want to do that. So a couple of things that we can do here. Either we could just mark a waypoint on the map and press the direct to button, and that's easily going to fly us there. Likewise, we could obviously just go to the flight plan page itself and just say we want to go direct Kilo Sierra 853. So let's do that. You can see that's only 118 miles on a 136 track. Enter, activate, off we go. So 136 is what we're going to dial in at the HSI as well. Rather important to mention over here, the HSI itself is not automatically dragged on by the GTN. That's realistic. Okay, so over to vertical speed mode. Let's increase our rate of climb a little bit so that we don't go into the Mach overspeed. And likewise, we might just about increase our target cabin altitude a little bit. Obviously, I got so excited about the GTN that I forgot to do that. But here we go. But you can see how the relief valves are doing a perfect job here, bringing the airplane straight to the maximum, but no further. Really cool to see all that stuff working. Even though when I mess up from time to time, then if the plane can catch me out of that, that's really appreciated. Alright, so that much about the initial part of the flight. We did talk about quite a couple of features already, but there is a bit more that we can talk about. Now, vertical track is telling us that we're basically going ballistic here, because the top of descent is getting so close. But let's quickly have a look into something. So, utilities, VNAV. and we can just increase that target here a little bit. Let's say we want to do 3,500 feet a minute rate of descent. That's going to give us like a 4-degree flight path angle, 3 minutes to the top of descent. Perfect. Okay, so what's quite cool here, by the way, is that it automatically picks the active constraints and applies that for our VNAV. Now, what we can and should do, of course, is have a look at the chart to see if those constraints are actually limiting us. So, got 1,000 to go up here, and altitude select is armed. So let's have a quick look into this approach. Again, using the Navigraph charts for this one. So we're coming out of Kilo Sierra 853. It does say 4,800 in here, but normally this does not mean you gotta be there exactly. It means you gotta be there or above. You can see that over here as well at 851, 4,700. The only thing where we really gotta be at that altitude is over here, the final approach fix. So what we are going to do now, we just go into the flight plan real quick, and we change those altitude restrictions from at to at or above. Save, the same over here, 4,700. This is an above restriction already. Perfect. Alright, so let's have a look into what our VNAV is doing now. And here we got it. For a 3-degree angle, we got to start our descent now, but we do plan to go a little bit steeper, 3.5. Time to top of descent, 1 minute and 40 seconds. Awesome. And we can see this obviously on the map as well. So, when talking about approach preparation, then obviously we are going to talk about charts. And the charts are the next interesting talking point up here that we need to have a look into.
Vertical track.
Check, that's 1 minute to go to our top of descent. Alright, so let's talk about charts. In adding charts to the TDS GTN XI has been both a challenge as well as a great pleasure on the part of TDS. Now, that was the most logical feature to come after offering an updatable navigation database. The charts featured from Navigraph are supplied by Jeppesen, thus creating the paradigm of the flight charts by offering the much more complex, easy to read, colored charts that Jeppesen has to offer. Now, the real GTN XI unit loads charts from the SD card, where the flight charts are region-based. So you've got North America, Europe, Australia, Brazil, and so on. The SD card, by the way, is the one that you can see in the unit over there. However, the great thing really is that by using Navigraph charts, you don't have that region limitation, but you've got worldwide database and worldwide charts in the entire unit. So you can fly wherever you want without having to worry about having to update the database all the time. Really, really cool. Now, TDS are happy to be able to achieve that feature at the high standards that they have accustomed their customer to, without having any feature limitation and setbacks. As the time of the writing of the talking points that I received, there are over 7,000 airports in the Navigraph chart database, and not only do they display charts, but they also use the georeferencing data where available, so you will see the position of the aircraft on the chart. Great care has been added to remove georeferencing for insets, as in an approach hold that is not drawn on the scale on the chart, thus always showing the correct aircraft position on the GTN. Now, we're about to start our descent over here, so let's go ahead and dial that altitude selector down a little bit. We're going to go for a vertical speed and pitch it down a little bit. Looking for about 3,500 feet a minute, but how many feet a minute do we actually need? Yeah, come on, you're just very close to the overspeed, you're not in it. Here we go, that's better. Okay, so one of the things that I really like about the GTN is on the top over here you've got the desired track and you got the actual track. Now, the actual track is rather useful. The desired track really only is for setting your course up here. So we can decide on any of those values that we might want to change. Now, here's what I personally like to do. We do have our distance to go up here on the unit. Likewise, we could also get our speed down there. So these are the two values that we got that we can play with. Personally, I think we need the speed the least, so let's go ahead and exchange that. I'm gonna go for the menu, then change user fields on the map. We're going to change that ground speed field up here, and instead what we're going to do is we will insert the vertical speed required. Something that I really like. The time to top of descent is also a cool thing. So basically like that you can change that stuff around. Okay, back, and here we go. Vertical speed required, minus 3,920. So basically at 4,000 feet a minute we are doing good. Let's go ahead and set that, nose down a little bit more. Here we go, roughly 4,000 feet a minute. Awesome. Then we gotta set our altitude down. Scandinavian Mountains is located at roughly 1,600. But hey, why don't we just go ahead and look it up real quick. Waypoint info, airport, ESKS, Scandinavian Mountains. I do love that fast find. Okay, info, elevation 1,649. So that's what we're gonna set roughly in here, 1,600. And with that our cabin is now descending and we are nicely on the way down. Right, so pretty cool, all the stuff that you can do with this. And this is now fully up to date. I do really like that. Right, so let's go down 10,000. Like that. And now we've got our GTN set up for what we need. We got the vertical speed required down here, which is a really useful feature. And with that we're basically fully prepared for our approach. A couple of things we got to keep in mind though, which is limitations of the real world unit. And one of the things you got to keep in mind here is the vertical speed required is based on the current ground speed from the current altitude to the target altitude. It does not take into account any deceleration segments. So easy example, we're doing 280 knots right now. Let's add a little bit of power to speed up to 300, and then you will see how the vertical speed required is going to increase. So power is added, speed is coming up. And here we go, doing 300 knots now, and you can see now all of a sudden we need 100 feet a minute more vertical speed. Now we're doing fine at what we're doing right now, but this is something that you need to keep in mind when planning your descents with the GTN. Now final thing for us to do here, we did have a look at the approach itself already. Frequency 109.55, obviously updated from the database as well, and you can see that's been pre-selected over here. So let's switch that active so that we got the ILS prepared. Now the minimum's 200 feet on the radio altimeter, so we are just quickly going to find the radio altimeter over here, and as you can see the buck is set towards 200 already, so that's going to illuminate the decision height light that we can find on the ADI and on the altimeter. Apart from that, the final course is the only one we need to set ourselves over here, but obviously we're only going to do that once we're actually established on the actual final course. Alright, so that's pretty much all that preparation that we can do using these charts. Now, a final look over here to plan our taxi in. If we just go to the airport chart, you can see that landing runway 15, we got to vacate almost at the end, 2.5 kilometers down the runway. For that reason, I'm only going to use reversers a little bit, and I'm not going to use any wheel brakes so that we can keep our brakes cool. Vacate at the end, and then we go over to the general aviation apron over here in Scandinavian Mountains. So with that, we are pretty much prepared. Let's pre-select our approach once again over here, and here we go. Right, awesome. So if we click and hold the home button, it brings us straight to the map, and here we go again. Okay, so as you can see, pretty nice integration that you've got in here. By the way, in case you're wondering, I did talk about the SD card and regional charts being saved on it. The way this works in the real world unit is that you can exchange the card in flight if you fly from one region to another. You're just going to have all those SD cards available to you. Now, with the Navigraph database, you can just pull any charts that are available in the Navigraph database without having to worry about changing SD cards. Now, A Navigraph Ultimate or Unlimited subscription is required for the charts to function. In case the TDS GTN XI customers have only the Navigraph Basic subscription, the already provided North American flight charts can still be used in the Pro package by making the appropriate selection from the TDS GTN XI interface. So if you take the external app that the program comes with and you take that app, you can select what you want to use from where. For example, you can choose if you want to use the Navigraph charts, or if you want to use the standard flight charts that come with a trainer for North America, and so on. Alright, so finally, there has not been any announcement of this coming prior to the release, because it is a highly anticipated feature for the GTN XI, and they were not in a position, or they did not want to get into a position to overpromise, only to let down their customer base due to technical restrictions which might be encountered throughout the development. So for that reason, the GTN has not actually been announced prior to its release. However, the great thing is it is released right now. You can head over to TDS and can get the Pro package at a small fee, and there is also from now on going to be a bundle available that is going to bring you the basic TDS with the trainer and the Pro package in one bundle if you are a new customer to the TDS GTN XI. So, are there any other plans for the GTN XI add-on? Yes, absolutely there are. The add-on is in continued development, and they do listen to the feature requests that matter to most of their customers, and they do have great plans ahead. And while they do not make them public until they feel that they are fully working and properly tested, you can be assured that the best customers' interests are in mind with TDS over here, and there will be some great features coming, and the TDS GTN XI is going to stay the GPS navigator of choice in flight simulation. So with all of that said, let's go down now to the platform altitude, 4,700. Let's quickly check what our QNH is. I just love it, man. I just completely love it. Right, so weather data. Wind variable at 3, visibility 10, light rain and snow, few clouds 600, broken 1200, temperature -2, altimeter 1015. Right, so 1015, that is basically 2 hectopascals more than standard, so 6 inches, so set QNH 2998, set left, and set right, and set standby. Awesome. So we're speeding in. I'm keeping the speed up high, and then we'll reduce the speed pretty much exactly when we are reaching our bottom of descent, so that we can achieve one continuous night flight path. Yeah, come on, don't complain. We're exactly at the maximum, but that is fine. Here we go, that's better. By the way, this is Learjet flying. You just put it right on the red marker. This is Learjet flying. Alright, so altitude selector is armed. We are entering a little bit of potential icing over here. Let's go ahead and turn that back on. The cell anti-ice is coming on. And the radome anti-ice is coming on as well. The cell heat on, that's intended. Right, 1,000 a run. No traffic shown on here, so I am just going to keep the vertical speed. We'll level off, and once we are, let's start our speed reduction. So down to 180 at first. Gonna intercept the final track 1 for 1 in a moment, so let's do that right hand turn. And once we're established on the final track, that is when I'm going to switch it over into VOR mode, so that we can intercept and fly our ILS.
Vertical track.
Checked. Right, let's switch it over then. Heading mode. Over to VLOG, and here's our ILS. So nav armed. Not vertical speed, but glide slope. That is what I want. Alright, and the glide slope should come in any moment. 15 miles out, roughly 3,000 feet above field elevation. Speed is coming down nicely. And 180 knots, here we are. Awesome. So we do have nav mode capture already. Glide slope is just about coming alive now. That is excellent. That is really excellent. So we sure enough didn't waste any time. 30 minutes in flight. And we're almost on the ground already. That's what I really love about the Learjets. These things have so much power available, and they're flying such good speeds. So as soon as the glide slope is actually coming alive, we are going to reduce our speed further. For now I'm just maintaining 180 knots. And obviously, since we're about to start the approach, belts on, lights on, and the recognition lights can come on as well. And finally, we are also going to put the igniters on already. Supposed to do that on final, but tell you what, I really like to hand fly this aircraft, so I will disconnect the autopilot in a moment. In order to fly us down manually. Alright, so glide slope is alive. Then let's go flaps 8. Speed down towards 160. Autopilot off. So flight directors off. Let's have a little bit of fun. Gear down. Flaps 20. Still 8 miles to run. I'm going to maintain the speed for a bit, but just want to get the airplane into the proper configuration already so that we get our engines running up. So, there's the runway, 12 o'clock, coming straight out of the clouds. We do need quite a bit of thrust here in order to maintain our airspeed, but that is fine. After all, we did go into quite a high drag situation here. Or rather, configuration, not situation. Here we go, that is looking awesome again. Okay, field elevation, you remember, is 1,650, so we're 2,000 above the ground now. That'd be the point where we'd start configuring in the Airbus. I do, however, tend to say that in the Learjet we can do that a little bit later, since the thing doesn't have as much inertia. And our runway is inside already, so we can apply the 500-foot gate. Okay, reaching 4 miles. Speed down 130 on the initial approach, and then later we're going to do 120 on the very short final. Speed is coming down below 150, flaps full. Right, looking awesome. So, thrust reversers are armed. Yeah, I'd say we're out of icing conditions, so let's go ahead and turn that off again. Right, so gears down 3 green, flaps full, landing checklist complete.
500.
Checked. A little bit of a thermal here. I do suppose we're flying slightly uphill. Alright, all visual, power off. And we're down. Okay, so we are going to put the engines into idle reverse. Okay, which apparently they don't even have right now, so, well, then we can completely take them out of reverse as well. Right, nose-wheel steering is on. And that is 36 minutes for roughly 240 miles. Right, here comes our exit. Suspend the missed approach, please. And here we are, welcome to Scandinavian mountains. Another airport that I gotta thank OrbX for getting that preview version early on. And I do have to say that I totally love it. I really do. So, runway is vacated. We are going to stop straight here so that we can tidy the airplane up. Don't want to do all that while taxiing and missing all the beautiful view. Alright, so flaps coming up. That wasn't really much contamination on the runway. Then we go down to the taxi lights. We can put our strobe lights off. And finally, looking over to the left hand side, we can also turn the pitot off because the surfaces are rather free. Actually, over there is a little bit. I'll tell you what, pitot's gonna remain on. Better safe than sorry. Alright, so if we have a look into the charts, this is exactly what's meant with the inset over here. So you can see we've got our airplane symbol on the large version of the chart, but we are not going to get it on the inset. And that is correctly, because otherwise you'd need two airplane symbols there. But you can see General Aviation apron is going to be to the right, to the end, and then to the left. So let's go straight there. And finally the reverses can be turned off. So that Falcon over there looks like we definitely want to park next to that. Even though we've got a rather old Learjet, I do prefer to park next to the rich and famous, and to those who can afford the latest. Alright, that's the General Aviation parking I like. Okay, that might be a little bit slippery up here. I do have to say, by the way, I really like the fact that developers don't keep the taxiways completely clean anymore, like they used to do in the past, but that they actually make them a little bit more contaminated these days. Alright, so we're gonna park straight up here. Parking brake is set. And then, now the pitot heat can come off, windshield heat is going to off as well. Turn off all the electricals as far as we reasonably can. Alright, so avionics master coming off and the engines coming off. With that, we're going to turn the seatbelts off as well, the steering. I don't think we can turn that off actually. Alright, 36:59. does look like quite a good flight time to me. The engines are running down, they are no longer a danger to anybody, so we're gonna switch off the nav light and the beacon as well. And I'm just gonna put the avionics on one more time over here. Gonna have a little look on the battery that we don't drain it. But again, here is the exact key of what this simulation gotta offer. Navigraph database, current, Navigraph charts, current and updatable through your Navigraph subscription. The Navigraph subscription is required for the GTN Pro upgrade to be able to use those data, and the update itself happens through the Navigraph hub. Now, that is it, my friends. The first look at the GTN Pro upgrade by TDS with the very long-awaited Navigraph database and chart integration. I would like to thank Tiberio from TDS very much for providing me with the exclusive early access preview over here, and the product is available now. You can get both the standalone version as well as the bundle version with the GTN trainer at a reduced price over at TDS, so do head over there right now, check out if you like what's being offered. Personally, I wouldn't want to live without it anymore, as a current database is just so important, and that was the one big problem that the GTNs used to have. It does come at a small price, which is understandable due to the huge development time of about 2 years that went into making this possible and integrating the Navigraph database with the Garmin trainers. So it does come at a small fee, in my opinion, absolutely worth it, and you can always just grab the bundle if you rather have the full package straight away and don't have the TDS yet. Alright, so would I recommend to get it? Yes, I absolutely would. In my opinion, the TDS GTN XI, which does run on the standard Garmin trainer, represents the real unit as close as it is possible on any flight simulator, really. So it is really worth checking out if you're up for general aviation navigation. Also, on the TDS website there is a list of aircraft that do feature the virtual cockpit integration for the GTN units, which by now I would say are pretty much all aircraft running on analog gauges, or pretty much all, let's call it, still nowadays flying aircraft running on analog gauges. So definitely worth checking out, and in my opinion a great addition to the simulator. So thank you very much at TDS for providing me the review copy. Also at that point, thank you very much to OrbX for providing the 2 airports in this video, Molde and Scandinavian Mounts, the later of which, by the way, still is a brand new release, so definitely worth checking out in the Swedish tri-pack. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much for flying along today. Hope that you have enjoyed the flight. If you did, be sure to leave a like and a comment in the video description below and let me know what you think of this one. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope that you absolutely enjoyed this one, and if you really loved what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. As the last disclaimer over here, videos like this do not get paid by the developer, so I don't get any money from OrbX or from TDS or from FlySomewhere for featuring any of these aircraft. So if you do feel like you like to support the channel, then a small donation is always very welcome. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and then I see you all again on the next one.